I also had a question about like the software you use. I know about Movie Magic, and you mentioned also Google Drive, which I also use. Is there like, it depends on the shoot size? Is there like different softwares you use, or like different approaches you take of the documentation and scheduling?
That's very interesting. So I will trash talk one of them. Oh God, what was it? Studio Binder. They are really, really trying. They're really trying hard, but I've never seen an uglier call sheet than what Studio Binder is doing right now. One of the shoots kind of made me use Studio Binder for a day and a half for a 30-day shoot. I was just like, I'm embarrassed to call this a call sheet and send this out to people. So there are softwares. I don't know too many softwares, and it is something that people should really get into, because if you charge like a minimum subscription, you will get fucking minted with this, because Movie Magic is a dinosaur of a software. Like, some of the functions are just so outdated and so cumbersome and manual labor, and just like, if I have to change scene numbers because somebody forgot how to omit from a screenplay and they just shift all the scene numbers and we have 110 of them, I literally have to, I won't even go into my rant about changing scene numbers in Movie Magic. I had 2 days of finding loose duplicate scenes because you cannot click on the scenes in scene order. You're clicking on them in the order that you've already scheduled them. So I had to just copy the whole thing, reorder them into script order, find the scenes. I still couldn't find the scenes. Anyway, so Movie Magic is unfortunately still the best way to do certain things. And then I don't know if they've done anything with it, and I've only used it once. But so I don't even know whether I have a bootleg version of it or whether they've done anything official with it. But there still is a software called, oh God, it's not G Suite. It's, I'm going to look it up for you in a second. So that was a Gmail based, a Google Drive based call sheet / scheduling algorithm, which it's like anyone who really understands Excel can do the same thing, because it's just a lot of very delicate Excel coding that you need. And if someone were to perfect it, my God, they're gonna be fucking rich. I'm gonna find it in a second for you. GCasper. They called it GCasper back in the day. And I seconded one feature film when I used GCasper, and because it was set up with the American system, a couple of things just weren't the way that the British would use it. So I did find it a little bit cumbersome, but then I understood the beauty and the pleasure of automation, because that's what pre-production should be about, that you prep an automated system and then you can trust your autopilot to take over. And then if anything changes, the system is easier to change than if you were to have to manually go through the whole thing and change everything. So I've tried to do my own way of automating things. Like, the way I work is I open up one Google Sheets. I have a template of a call sheet Google Sheet with different sheets. So one is always the call sheet, the day's call sheet, and I just copy paste. So I have a record of every single day's call sheet, because say we have to pick up something from 2 days ago or 3 days ago that we missed, I just copy paste that instead of doing the same every time. I have a record of all call sheets. So I would have the day's call sheet, then I would have a unit list, which involves cast and crew It's usually emails, phone numbers. I started doing Instagram because we're that generation now that I started doing Instagram names for everyone, because that's just nice being able to tag each other and being able to, when you're allowed to post on social media about a shoot, it's a really nice thing to shout out about people and give people work, and it usually involves the unit list usually involves the dietary requirements. Sometimes it's not me, sometimes it's not who's filling that section out, but it's there if anybody needs it for catering. And then I would have a schedule section where I literally, from the PDF that Movie Magic gives me, I very kindly and very nicely asked someone, it's not me, to copy paste into Excel, so that from that Excel schedule, which is the exact same copy of a PDF schedule, we would be able to just copy paste into the day's call sheet. So I would have a complete schedule, sometimes in story order, sometimes in script order, sometimes in the original preliminary schedule order, sometimes in both. And then if anything changes or if anything needs to be copied, it's a quick copy paste because you have done your prep already. It's a waste of time with 5-day shoots, no more than 5-day shoots. But when it comes to 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, it's really useful to just have everything prepped and then just copy paste everything. And the other thing that I usually do is the same thing that we have an advanced schedule, I put timings on the call sheet as well. Some ADs like to hide their timings for shooting, for how much time do they allocate for a scene. I think that's a counterproductive and very antiquated way of thinking about shooting. I think it's useful for people to know exactly how much time we want to have for one scene. ADs usually freak out about it, that it would look bad on, that they would look bad in front of actors, especially if they don't make their own timings. Well, everybody understands how film works, and then the crew can work to those timings instead of having to ask on the day. So I usually prep the next day for my second, also with timings. So I prep the timings for the next day. How much time do I want to have for each setup? Because that can change, even though I put it on the original schedule. That's the section. The time section is usually what changes every single day, based on how the day goes, based on how the previous day went, based on how I see people's personal pace. And then I would have, like, next to the schedule tab, I would open a separate tab where I would prep the next day. So even though I only have on the call sheet, I only have the timings, the makeup and costume timings section for the day, I usually prep the next day's timings as well, so that they can prep and they can see. And that's something that the second or the third takes to makeup and costume and double checks it with them, that, hey, is this realistic? Do you like this? Do you want to change anything? Do you want to do you want to call someone before another person? Do you need an assistant? Do we need to bring somebody in for you for the day, because we have to get 10 people ready because it's an ensemble piece and we're shooting with all 10 of them at, 8 a.m. in the morning, which happened. So in terms of softwares, like, I'm not a fan of any kind of production manager software. Like, when I was producing short films, I used to use Asana. People try to get me on Trello. People try to get me on Slack. I just don't. I hardly even check WhatsApp group chats. I'm just like, just tag me if you want to say something specifically or want to ask something specifically, but I don't really flick through hundreds of just loose messages. So I don't use any project management tools at all, because I just don't like them. But if you really like to see everything in order, then those can be very useful. And then in terms of scheduling, still, unfortunately, Movie Magic is the best. There are some other softwares that are trying to do what Movie Magic is doing, but Movie Magic has the standards, the industry standards, what everyone else is using. And I haven't really seen any other software that uses the same standards, which is really annoying. And then for call sheets, I just made my own way. And I know that a lot of people try to do the same. And again, if you can hook up with someone who's just an Excel whiz, your life will be so much easier. And I would love to meet someone like that.
Movie Magic, stick to Movie Magic for now. There's no other options
until they find something better. But honestly, like when my friends, this GCasper thing, when my friends invented this, I knew it was 4 or 5 years ago now. I knew that they wanted to patent it. I wanted to turn it into an, honestly, any point in your life, if you come across an app developer or a web developer, get them into the film industry. Because there are a good few sections within film, like especially when I was doing crowd ADing, I realized how poorly the crowd registration system is working. We used to have chits, which were like, it looked like medical receipt sheets that you would have, or like accounting sheets that you would have 3 layers of paper. The 2 bottom layers were copy papers, so that you would have a barely readable 3-time copy of your top page of manually filled out for 50 to 100 extras, every single person's, details. And those are bank account details. Those are details where they actually would get paid, and sometimes important bits of information like medical information, things like that. Are you allergic to anything? And we would all do it manually. And I know that nowadays there is like, I haven't properly studied in ages. I know that there is a software version of it, but still, if it would just be an app on your phone and a laptop and just syncs with everything, and it uses the same coding as other systems are using, like if we would just have a proper production toolkit, and the same thing for production as well, that I'm sure that with risk assessments and I don't know, location permits and things like that, they would appreciate something that is just uniform and industry standard and works so well. So if you ever meet a person who's just like, I don't know, I'm a coding student and I need a project to sink my teeth into, just be like, welcome to the film industry, my friend.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we're just too creative to make something like that. But I do know one DOP who started doing apps.
Yeah.
And he actually made the app for oil, that like when you travel, you can actually see where will be the cheapest fuel around you.
Nice.
So like, I think he's really good with IT stuff. I should tell him, because like this is his startup right now. And I'll be like, have you thought about that? It's actually, there's no competition whatsoever. There's just like a one dinosaur.
Yes, exactly. Whoever's going to be the first, because it's the same thing with Movie Magic. They were the first who invented anything like this. And even though it's highly outdated by now, it's still the only one, because it's a bit cumbersome to do anything like that. So nobody actually wants to put the time and the energy in. But if someone were to just modernize it, just with a little bit of extra twitch, and you would just, you would have it at a subscription base, because you would make so much more money than selling Movie Magic for, I don't know, 400, 500, I don't know what it's now.
Yes.
And just make it into a tiny little subscription amount. Even though people can opt in, opt out, whenever you're not in production period, you can just license it for the month. That's it. You would make so much money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, someone should hear that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how are